with the goal, specific and measurable and, action oriented and all those things. Within the past, I want to say I learned this, I'll just say 7 months ago. It really got me because now I look at goals differently. I start with the result now, then I work backwards to the beginning. So whether I'm in my employee hat at the university and how I work and do things, even in my entrepreneur hat and how I do things, I always think now of what is the result that Renita wants at that time. Then I work backwards because then I got the vision in front of me. Now I'm looking at the steps to take to get to that vision. And yes, for me, thinking it in this way, it kind of helps me develop the timeline. It helps me develop the steps. And even if step A didn't work, I can come up with a step A1, if you will, and then keep climbing that step. Um, and it just makes sense because especially when you're putting that time frame to it, you kind of know for yourself, all right, in 6 months, where am I going to be with this overall goal, with the overall vision? And do I need to talk to certain people to get there? What do I need to do next to get to this step? And it just helps me to plan my life a little better. And so I've been kind of teaching this. First of all, I had to thank my friend Lafrida for sharing that tidbit of information because that was my nugget of how to get where I am. And so I'll give you an example. So my entrepreneur hat is on. In Mary Kay, we work off of commission and production, monthly productions and all of that. Well, since I became a director in December of 2019, my goal was to have a $10,000 plus production month. Okay, okay, and each month, okay, how we gonna, what we gonna come on, you the leader, then I started implementing the Frida's principle. And you guys and gals, finally, January of this year, we made $10,666 in our production. What a way to start January 2020.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's amazing.
you. What a way to start off 2021. Thank y'all. And so I'm like, okay, now I'm on a high because we're going to repeat this again. But what I did was is I looked at December 2020 and I'm like, okay, how do I want my January to look like? I want the 10,000. I want my unit to experience the 10,000. Now, what is that going to take? And that is not what I did before. I didn't start up here to work and then go backwards. I just started working, but I knew I wanted 10,000. So then it made it a little bit easier because then I knew who to focus on in my unit more. For those that wanted to become leaders like me and build their team, I knew to start with them first. Then I knew to start with the women that really just want to sell the product. And it just worked out that everybody chimed in all at one time. And as the director, I'm like, okay, where do you need me to be? I'll be at your party. And then I'll shoot off of Zoom and go to this Zoom. And then because they were all booking. Oh my God, they were booking the parties. And I felt like the Matrix. I was all over the place. But it was a good all over the place because we met our goal. So now we are going from that high in January, coming in to the month of love, to February. And oh my God, everybody buying stuff and ready in love. I want that satin hands. I want. And so now, it's just still continuing that momentum. It's staying in the momentum. When you set that goal and now you've set the vision and you've worked backwards and you're starting to see the movement, the traction, you stay in it. You stay in it. You stay in it. And even if there is some pieces that don't seem like they quite fit together, you still stay in that momentum. You still stay in that momentum. And that's where we are. We just finished our first week. We just, hit the milestone that I set for the first week. We hit it. So we just keep staying. And then I'm working my own personal business as well, but we keep staying in that momentum. There's a couple of other things I do want to showcase, and I'm going to give it back over to Lisa for any questions or whatever. But two more points that I've learned in my goal setting. The second thing is the mindset. Our minds speak so much power. Y'all don't even understand. Our minds speak so much power. I function now on the laws of assumption. When you believe in a thing, it will happen. When you see a thing, it will happen. When you feel a thing, it will happen. Not only laws of attraction is great. I get that. But it's also the laws of assumption because you want to feel what you're attracting. Your mind needs to stay on a positive outlook. And I'm gonna be honest, some days I wake up in the morning, I'd be like this. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning. Now what? You, Jesus. I put 2 feet on the floor and what now? Sometimes I feel like that. I'm just being honest. I wish I could say every day I woke up in the morning, I'm just so excited. Thank you. Lisa, no. I've cried many a time, Lisa. Lisa. You know, but it really is here. This is the power. And every day you gotta fight. Some days just gonna be awesome. And some days it's not. But guess what? We did wake up this morning. So that is something we need to be grateful for. Then we like, okay, God, I don't have it today, but you're gonna have to have it for me today. You know, one of my good girlfriends sent me in the mail, Lisa, a necklace that has a mustard seed in it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was so freaking excited to get that necklace to
Wow.
have a mustard seed inside of it.
Wow.
And we know what faith of a mustard seed is. Y'all know how tiny, tiny that thing is. You put it down somewhere, you will lose it. It's that small. But
Wow.
that's all God said. Is just have a faith as small as.
Yep. Yep.
And so that it just lifted me up to where I'm like, okay, all right, my inner, thank you, God. Okay, my inner Anita coming out. Yeah. You know,
Matrix.
and it's it's that mindset. But then the third thing, ladies, is what I've learned just in this past month of January. When we enter a new year, we come up with all these resolutions, and I'm just gonna do this, and I'm changing, and yeah, okay. So this is what I learned: it's the art of the pivot. The art of the pivot. We all have had to learn, and this is all still part of my goal setting because it might not seem like they work together, but it really did for me, in helping me structure myself and then go from there. Because the art of the pivot, we all had to pivot. When Corona hit, we like, what the hell? What just happened to us? But the art of the pivot, we've all had to shift, whether it be in our jobs, or in our businesses or in our how we raise our children and dealing with the pandemic and shifting here and shifting there and zooming it up, learning, like you said, Lisa, the technology, how you link Facebook to Zoom and how you do. We had to pivot and learn the system.
Mm-hmm.
Were we ready for it? Maybe some of us were. You know, those that were already social media savvy, they were already doing it. They looking at us like, hello, y'all just catching a clue? Yes, we catching a clue and we catching up, whether we want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
But all businesses had to pivot. And even as we structure our goals in life, whatever they may be, have room in the goal to pivot, because there is going to be times where you're going to have to make a little detour. We didn't say go off the path, it's just make a little detour. Because that detour, it just takes you kind of like around the way for a minute, then you get back on course. But it's okay. And so I've learned through the art of the pivot. And I've heard different speakers just in the month of January kind of break down what pivot meant to them. Some people, when they, you spell out pivot, P could be for planning, P could be for passion, P could be for preparation, right? All of it goal setting. And then I've heard people talk about I is investing. I think a lot of times we don't invest a lot in ourselves and the goals that we set up, you know? So it's the investing. V is, I just heard today at a leadership conference, V is value, valuing yourself, valuing what your, you know, purpose is. O is operating. One of the things I've learned for myself anyway is operating in my greatness.
Wow.
Is that two snaps in a circle? Lisa, you funny. Two snaps.
Because I like it. I like it.
But I got all of this from Gloria Mayfield Banks.
Gloria Mayfield Banks.
Gloria Mayfield Banks. Um, Check her out. She's awesome. She is number one in Mary Kay, but also just number one in just her field in what she does. But in that though, I've read several books and I have them here. This is Shonda Rhimes.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And where's my other book? Yes, The Prayer God Loves to Answer.
There's a whole lot of yeses in those books.
Yeah, yes to me.
Yep.
Yes to me.
I like
Because
that.
Corona just, I think the thing is sometimes you have to think about what's the silver lining in this whole situation of Corona. And through all this unfortunate, for me, it's given me back me.
Wow.
It gave me back that I'm able to kind of sit down in my own quiet and figure out what I really love about me and what I enjoy about me. Where does Renita want to go from here? And thanking God for all that He has done for me all since I was born. But
Mm.
where is He going to take me now? You know,
Wow.
but operating for me, the O in pivot is operating and walking in my greatness,
I like
you
that.
know. And then T, um, I've heard many words of T, transformation, you know, trailblazer, um, time management, whatever that T is in your goal setting, the tenacity that we have, to keep moving forward. So if there's anything, you know, like I said, the goal setting for me, number one, was starting with my result and then work backwards. And for me, it was just now easier to set the time, the measurements, and the specifics to it. And then, um, just the art of the pivot, and having and staying on the course of having a positive mindset. And like I said, even though there are days when you may not feel like it, what is your why?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is your why? What keeps you focused? And I think when you really understand your why, then you will succeed in your goals. You will manifest, but you got to believe in what you're setting out. You got to believe in it and feel it. Like feel it. Like feel it. Not just say it, but feel it. Not just see it, but feel it. And I think once you start feeling it, it just becomes part of you. And then, oh my God, it has happened. Then you're on to the next goal. Then you go to the next, you know. But ladies, that's all I got. I didn't know if you wanted me.
This is a
Did you
lot.
need me for an hour?
First of all, I know everybody has questions, so I'm gonna everybody. I have a question. My cousin was the first one that threw it in the chat, so I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that too. But I'm gonna open it up for questions now. But first, I just wanted to kind of make sure I understood what you said. So what you said basically about goal setting for you is working backwards, know what the end result is, and working backwards. Know what the art of the pivot is. And I love the acronym for pivot. And I maybe make that a homework assignment for everybody to make their own pivot, create your own pivot. What does those words mean to you? How it resonates. So I love that. A positive mindset, we know that's a part of it. And that was one of my questions. And so I'm going to ask that after I just sum that up. Keeping a positive mindset, and knowing what your why is. Why is this goal so important to you? And feeling it, the assumption that it's going to happen and making it happen through all of these steps that we're talking about.
And one thing I wanted to add before I forget, Lisa, is like I said, I've been in a lot of workshops in January. Like I said, primarily for my business. But this blew my mind, and maybe y'all knew about it, but it blew my mind. You know how we always say attitude is 100%, 100% attitude? Did y'all know that attitude actually equals 100?
What are you talking about, Willis?
No, right? So one of the Emeriti National Sales Director, Mary Kay, she retired, but she's also a former educator. If you look, excuse me, if you look at the letters in the alphabet, A will count as number one because it's the first letter. And then T, I think, is number 22 in the alphabet. You count T again, number 22. I is 9 and U is 21, something like that. But when you count up the letters as it appears in the alphabet, it actually equals 100.
Wow, that's amazing.
I did the math and I'm like,
you see?
Hello.
Wow.
Look at God.
And now I understand when they say it's your attitude equals 100%. It's all about your presence, your attitude, your mind. And having a good attitude no matter what life brings you, it actually equals 100.
I love that. I love that.
That is awesome.
That's awesome. I'm gonna add it up and I'm gonna show everybody. That's my new thing.
Yeah, but Lisa, what you said, having everybody come up with their own acronym for pivot. Like I said, I've heard various versions of how a person thought of it. So I was just kind of giving you with different P's. I've heard different I's, different V's, different O's, different T's. So I might need to do that myself.
Yeah, I love it. I think, you know, I'm all about the homework assignment. That's a teacher in me, but I think that makes personal. It makes it
Mhm.
personal, like goal setting is very personal.
Mhm.
I know I'm going to open it up for questions, but the first question was from my cousin. I'm looking on the Facebook line, and she said, can she walk us through her task steps taken as an example of starting from the finish line, specifically, like give an example how and working backwards. What have you done to do that? Like, it could be your business, or it could be, you know, your research and anything that you've been doing as a goal.
Yeah, so I'll just give an example just because it was recent with you know, my Mary Kay production. So, like I said, I've always dreamt for our unit to have a $10,000 plus production month. But that's all I visioned. You know, I never really, you know, thought about what that looked like. You did the work, but okay. So after hearing LaFrida talk about starting at the goal and then work backwards with the steps. So I knew in really thinking about December and how I wanted my January 2021 to look like, I knew specifically if I'm going to have our unit produce $10,000 in unit sales, this is what I have to do. One, I have to be present in my team members' lives and how they work their business. That was number one. Number two is I called individuals who I knew were dedicated in their business and asked them, what goal do you want to see for this month? Is it in sales? Is it in building teams? What does that look like for you? And as I talked to each individual person, I just took notes on everybody. Then we strategized what that would look like. You would need to do these many Zoom call facials and this and that. And they plugged me in every one of them. It kept them energized. It kept them excited. It kept them selling. I also worked my personal business where I'm on the Zoom calls getting people excited to buy this, that, and the third. But I knew I had to literally sit with all of my members to see where they are and what they wanted for themselves. Then I knew how to work with them. And so I knew I needed X amount of people to, if they're building their teams and they want to be our so-called red jackets, they needed to bring in 3 people. What did that look like? So we got people that are now red jackets. All of that helped that by the time I looked up January 31st, we were $10,666.
Wow.
But I invested my time into them, and they now feel secure in their business because as they were watching me do their shows for them, they were taking notes. So now they have me on the call, but they're doing it. So I'm teaching along with it, while I'm working with them. And so now we just entered into the first month of enter February, the first week, having accomplished our first milestone in our $10,000 February. So it was just a lot of those different techniques and steps that I had to maneuver through to get to the goal.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
I love, that's awesome. And I've heard people say that before. See the end result and work backwards too. Not the way you described it, but I have seen people say, look where you want to be. Vision yourself. What I will also add as a program note, 2 years ago, Renita did a vision board at my house, and on it was, I want to have my own business. That was 2 years ago. And 2 years, look what you have accomplished in that time. Just starting into, I don't even think maybe you didn't even start. I just know you said I wanted my own business. I don't think you knew what that looked like. So, for some of you who don't know, I do vision boards, and I've done vision boards in the past. And Renita was one of my vision board clients, and she did what she said she was going to do, and she accomplished it. And I remember when you put that on your vision board.
Yes.
Great. I love it. All right. And my cousin said she did the math. Attitude does equal 100. She did add it up.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to open it up for questions now. Does anybody have specific questions for Dr. Seabrook or Renita? Sean, I know you're dying to ask something. That's it.
I'm like, I just want to get to know her.
Yeah.
I'm
Tell
like,
her the reason why. Tell her the reason why you want to know her, Shauna.
So I met Lisa. I was in federal holding at CDF in Baltimore City, and I was convicted and I was sentenced to 36 months in federal prison after working for a doctor for 2 weeks. And it was great, and I was very sick. And Miss Lisa, like, I mean, I was physically ill, just beyond ill. And they came in and did Celebrate Recovery. And that is the thing that got me through. And she was the game changer. Like, I literally based my survival on them coming in the next week. I was like, I just have to live to see this. Like, if that, it just became, that started to be my goal. Like, you just have to live long enough for the next Wednesday to get your cup filled. And you just have to live long enough for the next Wednesday to get your cup filled. And they made sure that, like, I was not in court alone. If I turned around, one of them was there. And, you know, I get, you know, I go, I finally, I get better. I go to federal prison. I start to turn the curve with my health. And that's nothing but God. But I knew instantly when I touched federal ground, I thought where we were was bad. I thought what we were going through was bad. And then they ship you to federal prison and you're like, I've still, to this day, I've never even had a parking ticket. So this was like, I mean, it was just, my mind was completely blown. And I was just, I was in shock, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to act. And I remember I even went to the warden. I didn't know you weren't supposed to touch the officers, but I was scared to death. And I went to the warden. I was like, I don't belong here. Something is vastly wrong. This is a wreck. I do not belong here. And he took me to his office, and he politely showed me a file, and he said, I'm pretty sure you do. But since you have that attitude, let's talk about it. And he said, let's look at all the things that you have, and let's talk about all the things that these women don't have and what you can bring to them. And so that became my challenge. And he stayed with me the whole time, where he would check in and he would just say, you know, you have a gift for this. They listen to you. We have problems and we're coming to you because you can get to them. And I remember it was February 26th, and it was 2015. And I literally just hit my knees and I begged God. I said, whatever you need me to see, I suggest you give me your eyes, because I don't know what I'm doing. This is disaster. They're breaking my heart. I'm powerless. I can't do anything. I'm just me. And I went to bed, and the next morning it was crystal clear. I knew what I needed to do. I wrote my business plan, and now I own the Hope Project Prison Group. Like, from the moment I got out of prison, I knew I was going to run a nonprofit.
She's amazing.
Like, I knew I was going to run a nonprofit for men and women coming home from prison. I have transitional homes here in Fort Worth. We do prison consulting. I teach at the halfway house I was released to from federal prison. I'm going into the federal prison.
Love her.
Yeah. And then I just got accepted to law school at Abilene Christian University.
Wow.
Wow,
That's why he's like, I know she. So you two need to connect. You guys
Yes, because it's like, people, I think, you know, people forget that my favorite thing to do is get dressed up when I walk into these facilities, because they automatically don't believe I was ever there. And the first thing I say is, what's the matter? I'm white. I'm dressed nice. I don't possibly look like I could have worn a jumpsuit. Well, I did. And then I share with them my story, and they just kind of sit there, and I'm like, you can survive this. It's survivable, but it's a choice. It's hard. And some people are always going to look at you and say, you're the worst thing that piece of paper ever said you are. But the majority of people are going to sit back in awe and go, if you can get through that, I might be able to get through tomorrow.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm so proud of you. And that's why this group is called Survivors, Strivers, and Thrivers. That's what I love to hear. This is what I want. I want to empower women to overcome, but don't just overcome. I want us all to be thrivers and thrive. And Shauna is represented to that. Renita's represented to that. Shauna, you're going to do a session. I'm going to figure it out, but you're going to be doing a session soon. I'll be calling you and setting that up.
Awesome. That's good. He's faithful. I'm telling you, he's faithful.
They loving your story on Facebook. They loving it. So you'll see more Shauna. Trust me.
Believe me, I would give my eye teeth to be able to go into colleges for people that are, going to criminal justice and saying,
I
stop
got a lot
judging
of stuff.
people.
Renita got some.
Stop.
They're connecting you. You'll be good. Trust
Oh
me.
yeah,
A lot of
you
work.
need to be a guest speaker in my intro class. We
But
good.
I'll get you. I'm gonna share your contact.
I'm serious. I will do it because
Yeah, I'll get it. And I have another reentry program that I can have you mentoring too. So I trust me, there's a lot of work out there.
Yes.
Any other
Oh,
questions for Renita? Does anybody have specific questions about goal setting? Shauna, was any specific questions that you had about setting goals or anything?
I had one. I actually did have one.
I'm sorry, there's
because
stuff in the chat too. Go ahead, Shauna. I didn't see.
Oh, sorry. So I actually did have a question about goal setting. So I'm having a board meeting this Thursday. And so we're kind of on the cusp of we know COVID's still out there. It's rampant in Texas. And we've really struggled getting people from prison that don't have COVID, because we get as close to being there to pick them up. And the prison calls and they're like, oh, they're positive. And I'm like,
yeah.
And then we've had them come out and we've had 3 test positive. And I'm like, we need to expand. We know we need to expand. We know we need the beds. But at the same time, how do we juggle? I'm trying to find what does that realistic picture look like? Because you can't go full Monty in a season when things are so financially uncertain. And we're dealing with prisons that are uncertain of, well, are they going to hold them, let them go, kick them out? We don't know. Are they vaccinated? Are they not vaccinated? I mean, there's this whole dynamic. And so I used to make SMART goals, but I got to the point where I was like, this is redundant. What I need to know is, what do we really want to do and how do we get there?
Yeah, because it's unfortunate right now that the inmate population, they're the last to get tested. So you really don't know.
No.
It's barely that the officers themselves are getting tested, but we'll have to talk.
I'm gonna introduce you guys so y'all can connect.
Yeah.
Is there any other specific questions that you have for? I'm trying to find out for Renita. Anybody?
I have a question, but I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can? Is it okay for me to talk?
Yeah, this is question. We're doing Q&A now.
Okay, well, I didn't know if I needed to type it in somewhere.
No. I had asked your question specifically.
Oh, okay. So I have a question as an entrepreneur who had a 5-year business that was really doing well with Etsy. And actually, I had 2 businesses and they both blew up on me. And I'm basically, without getting into the whole thing, starting pretty much from scratch again with where I'm going to take my art. I mean, I had a bow tie business, so it wasn't really my drawing. And then the other one, I started doing graphics, but I've started painting digitally, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm trying to figure out what I want my final to be. I guess what is the
vision?
What does the result look like? And do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm having trouble visualizing how if that's, that seems to be my passion. I really love this painting right now. And that's been, my whole world.
I mean, are you wanting it to be out there on social media so people know what you're doing?
Yeah, see, it's long story. I've been working from home for 20 years raising 2 boys with autism. So that's been my past 20 years. And now, as things are getting easier, I would like to have my own business, do my own thing. The business that I had started was going really well, but then it blew up on me. So I've had a really good failure. And now it's kind of like picking myself up from my bootstraps and trying to be, okay, Chris, you can do this. Cause I've been feeling for the past, since this all happened right when the COVID hit. And
Mhm.
I've been like having a pity party. I'll be honest, straight up. I've
Yeah.
just haven't. And it's like, it's time to like put your big girl panties on, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And move forward. And I found that when I got this iPad that I could do this digital painting that I love.
Mhm.
And I've been doing like some mostly like just pretty much whatever I want to paint. And that is my background. Before the boys were born, I was an illustrator. So
Mhm.
um, now I'd like to maybe have like a business like that, but I'm sort of scared now that I've had a big failure and I'm feeling,
Mhm.
you know, like one thing you were saying that really hit me was like, just keep that positive mindset and keep, you know, keep moving forward.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like I need to really like, that's where I need the, what is the
Well,
word?
Can I
I look
piggyback
at
on that a minute before she, Renita, and you answer it, you're gonna answer it. But that seems to be a big issue. When
mhm.
people fail, it's fear of fail. I know another person who had a thriving business in a kiosk in the airport, and due to contract negotiation, he lost it, and he has no interest in starting it back up. It seems to be when people fall, there's that attitude. It's hard to go back, and hard. So it sounds like she's not only having an issue with visualizing what she wants to do using her
Mhm.
passion, but it also
Correct.
sounds like a lot of fear of failure again. And that
Yeah,
seems to be an issue with people. Once they fall, they have a really hard time getting back on
yeah.
that horse again. Can you speak to that? Because I see a
Thank you.
lot of people.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so just to let you know, so talking about Mary Kay, this was not my first rodeo with Mary Kay. I did it before, okay? And so I did it back in 1995. And I went for directorship 3 times and didn't make it. And I just slowed my business down. I didn't think I failed in it. I just knew there were other things in my life that was going on, like
Yeah.
school and stuff. So I had to make a decision. But the one thing I think about failure, when you're fearful in that way, it does limit you. You feel stuck because
Hmm.
you just feel like because it's like sometimes your heart wants to do it, but your mind is telling you
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
And so now I look at failure in a different way. And I had to push my mind to think in this way, that I look at it as an experience.
Mhm.
It was an experience. And what we do is we learn from our experiences, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily say anymore I failed it. I just didn't get it. But what can I learn from it, so when I do it again, because I've written papers before that didn't get accepted for publication. I poured my whole, Lisa knows that whole publish or perish stuff. I
Mhm.
poured my whole life in them articles and stuff. You write 20, 25-page long papers and you sending it out to different journals and they say no,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even a revise, resubmit. It's like no. And you're just like, oh gosh, okay.
The brick wall.
Yeah, but either I just said, okay, well, I'm not going to do that particular article, or I'll just revamp it and send it somewhere
Mhm.
else. But I just take their comments as an experience and say, okay, you might have said it didn't work, but somebody else will say it worked,
All right now.
so you just have to keep that mindset and
Mhm.
put maybe some of your pics on Instagram and see, you
Oh, they
know.
are.
Oh
And
yeah.
she's posted them
I
in our
was-
group. She's talented. I gotta say, she's very talented. So it just
oh,
seems to be that you need a little visualization exercises going on. But the other
Mhm.
part, it sounds like, and I also struggle there, and I'm pretty sure we all can. Dion, I'm pretty sure you've experienced this yourself when you have businesses that don't go the way you want. How do you bring yourself back? And it really is a lot of what Renita talked about is your mindset, is your
that.
faith. And then the
Mhm.
lessons. I
Yeah.
think the lessons is the really big part of that. What did you learn so that next time you
You
learn
won't reach
something
that.
from, when you keep saying blowing up, something had to happen that you won't repeat again. So you just
Mhm.
say, okay, well, I won't do that. Let me try
Yeah.
something different.
straight.
I had the same experience when I published my book the first time. I had a person that I hired to publish, and it was a bad business decision for me, remember? And so I was despondent over that, and I didn't want to go forward with publishing it, and I just let my book sit to the side for a couple months, and then I said, no, I put too much work into this. What did I learn from that? Well, I will definitely be careful of the people who I will choose. I will vet them better. So I learned to vet people. Just because they're friends doesn't mean they're going to be in your corner for business. I learned a very powerful lesson out of that. And I put myself, and I've just put myself back out there again. And I did publish it finally. So yes, those things are lessons. Don't look at them as failures. We have a tendency to internalize those things, but we really need to look at them as lessons. Those are life lessons. And if you don't make mistakes, if you don't fall down, you will never learn how to get up and walk again.
And Lisa, you just said something powerful, don't internalize it, but I will say this, you want to acknowledge how you feel about it.
Yeah.
That you do want to do. It feels like crap.
It hurts.
Yes.
It didn't go right.
It hurts.
So we girlfriends, we just go, I felt like shit. I just,
Felt like duty.
Do you feel like you lost 5 years? I feel like I've lost 5 years of my life because I poured 5 years into that business.
But you didn't lose. That's the thing. You're still right here. You're still here. You're still seeking knowledge. You're still saying, pour into me. You're hungry. You're thirsting for something, right? And so I think sometimes the things you have to do is, it's not just, yes, admit you feel like crap. It sucked. It did. It always does, right? But this is the thing. God never said stepping out in faith was going to be a bed of roses. In fact, he said the struggle is real. Like, it is going to be hard, guaranteed, right? It's going to be real hard. And the thing that you have to remember is just try to abide in him. When things don't go right with my business, or if we have to take 5 steps back before we take 25 forward, I have to ask myself, okay, I just have to remind me, like, I need to abide in him. What is he trying to teach me? What is he trying to show me? Because my ways suck. I had to learn that a long time ago. My way is irrelevant. I just need to check myself and be like, what do you have for me? Maybe this drawing thing, because it is something that you're passionate about, maybe that's the fire he's trying to ignite.
And pushing you in that direction. So it's okay to own your emotions. We're emotional beings, but it's pushing, you get to a point where I cry, I felt this, now it's time to and continue to walk in your greatness.
Yeah. And it's okay to say that, to admit that. And I think as women, we have a tendency to be everything out to all things. I have another question from one of our watchers. She said, what are steps you put in place to celebrate your incremental wins and milestones as you walk out and reach your goals? That's also very important. How do you keep that positive attitude? What do you do to celebrate that? What things do you do to keep you motivated?
Well, as because I think the thing for me, when I create the steps to get to the goal, they're like those milestones when you made this part, you're excited. Okay, now I can move on, because again, it's the momentum. You're on that. I know I can. And then when you make the next level, it's like, you get excited, and it just, it just continues to motivate you, and I kind of learned, until I get to the goal, I don't stay in that one milestone success long.
What do you mean?
You still got to keep moving.
Okay.
Until I get to the goal, I get excited, but I know there's the next step, Renita, come on, So you want to celebrate, but you want to keep moving as you're celebrating, because you don't want to just stay here, and then you want to keep moving.
So inside goals, I visualize steps to get to the goal. So I think the challenge for some people, myself included, is how do you stay motivated in those steps until you make that milestone? The milestone is easy to celebrate because you've achieved it. I think what people are challenged with, and I think that's what is not only is how do you stay motivated within those steps to get to that goal? Because it requires work.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think the thing is because I made a list of things I'm gonna do today.
Okay.
And when I complete the list, then I'm happy because I made those lists and I checked each thing off. Now, if there's certain things on that list I didn't complete, I just say, move it to tomorrow. But that's to be the first thing I start is what I didn't do yesterday because life happens. You think you got your 6 most important things or 3 most important things that you're going to do that day. Life happens. You probably got one done. I'm excited. I got the one done, but the other two, I'm going to move to Tuesday. And so Tuesday, I'm going to start off with what I didn't finish and then add, you know, but it's just making those lists. And so people laugh at me because they're like, girl, you get up so early in the morning. I'm up before the chicken. I could crow for you because I'm up at 4. And
Oh,
it's
boy.
just how I've been, but I'm a morning person, where I can get my meditation or my quiet time in and I can sit down with my cup of coffee and, kind of write out what I'm going to do today. Now, sometimes I do it the night before, but I function better doing it the day. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I know 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6, this is what Renita plans to do today to get to the milestone of the goal, if you
Okay.
will.
So
And
it
so
sounds like you
that
use
helps.
lists and you also have specific times of the day that you set aside to
Right.
do your stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other, we have time for one more question. Anybody else has another question? I'm looking. Oh, somebody said, is it wise to take a break in between those steps to your goal? What do you mean break, cousin? You gotta be, can you be more
Don't
specific?
take too long.
She said, don't take too long. Is it wise to take a break in between those steps to your goals? That's her biggest issue.
Oh,
Well, how long is the break?
yeah.
Yeah, how long is the break?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. For me, I had 31 days to get it done. I didn't have no break. So
So
it just depends, I think, on the goal and what you got going on to get to it. But I don't think you need to break for long because you're on a momentum, remember? You want to stay on that momentum to the final.
all right. And
Break when you finish.
when you got to the finish line.
Yeah, break when you've accomplished the goal because you're going to come up with another goal.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I think my last question. Anybody else have a question? She said okay with that. Anybody else have another question? I don't want to jump in on anybody else's. Last question is, I'm big on measuring progress. Measuring is really, how important is measuring timelines and measuring and quantifying when it's goal setting?
Oh, that's why it's a smart goal. You got to measure it. You cannot have a goal without a
Measure.
time because it'll never get done
Okay.
or it'll just take its slowness and completion. So you got to give it a deadline. Like I said, for me, I had 30 days to get from January 1 to January 31 to get to the goal, so that was my measure. But in between to get to the milestones, I had a weekly. So by the end of this week, I need to see this. By the end of week 2, I need to see this. So even within that, I had time frames. But time is measuring is important. You got to have it because if you set a goal and you say 6 months from now, well, 6 months come up, where did you land? Then you can is there anything you need to restructure in that goal if you didn't complete it so you can continue? But at least you had that point of measure to say, where am I?
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow, you gave us a lot of great nuggets and minutes. That's why I
Only
love
because
you.
people been pouring into me. So
Oh my God, I hope you all have gotten something out of Renita's talk today on goal setting. This is a month, this February is goal setting. Dr. Seabrook, we just love you and adore you. I will definitely
thank
be
you
having you
so
come back to talk
much.
about some other things because you just are great. Does anybody have any other questions before I close out this session? You guys have been, I'm so excited. You'll be hearing more from Shauna for sure. Shauna, they're asking for you to come speak to their class.
Oh yeah,
I'm getting.
Look,
Look, I have zero
Zoom.
problem getting on a plane and coming back to Maryland. I'm good.
No, we do everything Zoom.
Zoom, everything's
Do you?
zoomed out.
Everything, yeah. Our school is remote still.
It's like,
Oh my
I just
gosh.
love these women on here, and my connection is, I definitely believe it's always been God sent. It's just no
Mhm.
coincidences. It's always been divine, and I met Shauna and seen her like blossom with everything. When I'm talking about
Yeah.
a story, that's the testimony, and that's why I love this. Is a survivor, striver, and thrivers. But I don't want us to sit in that survival mode. We are
Mhm.
thrivers. We all should be shooting for thrivers in your personal and professional life. That's all I ask, is that you put in the work. I do this other stuff for you guys, bring you people to help you and hold you accountable. But you guys got to do the work, but you got to have the mindset. It's all about your mindset. Attitude is 100%. I love it. I love
Oh,
it.
yes.
So, Dr. Seabrook, what can I say? You are amazing. I
Mhm.
just, you're my girl.
I love you.
What I didn't tell y'all too, on my 50th birthday, that's why I fell in love with her. And when I turned 50, this woman picked me up from my house and drove me down to DC and stood with me all night while I danced the night away till like 4 o'clock in the morning, then drove me back to my house. Sat there, was my chaperone for the day, and I loved her ever since then.
I was a sleepy chick.
I
Just flew in
bet.
from Florida from a conference. Didn't even go home. Had the luggage in the car. Went to her, but I just love me some Lisa. And she right, I just sat there
and watched me dance
while she danced, trying not to go to sleep.
That's friendship.
I don't even know how I made it home. Ain't nothing but God, because I didn't see a road, a line on the road. I just was
That's friendship. That's unconditional love. So I love it. You guys have been great. Thank you so much, Renita. I can't say enough. If you want to get in contact with Dr. Seabrook, she's right in our Facebook group. Just send her a message.
Yes.
Renita Seabrook, she's there.
I'll message you.
Yeah, send her a message directly. She's in the group. If not, I will also introduce you guys through email. So you definitely, you guys need to talk. And Shauna, y'all can reach out to Shauna as well. You see her name on here. Send her a message. You want her to speak to your students or anybody you know that has had been formerly incarcerated or has compromised background. She's the girl to go to. She's doing great things in Texas. And Dr. Seabrook is doing great things as well. So ladies, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you was able to tune in. 2 weeks from now, we have another guest speaker who's going to talk about goal setting from a different perspective. And I'm very excited to introduce her in another week. Next week, I'm just going to post stuff in there. So we'll do this twice a month while I have speakers come in and, share with you guys. I want us all to win. We are going to win in 2021. We're going to take our lives to the next level because that's what we're called to do. We have a job to do. And so I'm here to do that. All right. Love you, ladies. Good night. My husband's like, okay, time to get on Facebook. So
Love you.
Love you. Mwah, mwah.
Bye.
Bye.